garden oasis where every bloom is perfect. God sees us not just as we are, but as we will be. God's garden oasis where every bloom is perfect. God sees us not just as we are, but as we will be.
Have you ever thought of yourself as a failure? Identified yourself in that way? I think we probably all have at some point. I remember when I used to have a big German Shepherd and a St. Bernard. They were huge dogs. And I would have them and put them out in the backyard. And if I kind of took my eyes off of them for about 10 minutes, they dug their way right out of that yard. And then they would take off. Well, you can imagine what my neighbors thought when they saw those two huge dogs running around. One guy who didn't know my dogs even thought that my St. Bernard was a bear when he saw him out in the backyard. I'm Nancy Hammond. This is God's Garden Oasis, and I'm glad you're here today. Being a failure or failure at something means to be below the normal quality, to be insufficient for whatever is needed. But God doesn't see us as failures. He sees us as less than perfect because we are. But he also sees us, just as our song in the beginning says, the way that we will be. So he sees us as developing. And as long as we keep our eyes on God and keep trying to work for his glory, we will be successful. In Philippians 4:13, it says, I can do all things through Christ. Keep that in mind. I can do all things through Christ. God will never ask us to do something that's too hard. If we don't succeed in the beginning, and we believe truly that that's something God is asking of us, we need to keep doing it. In 1 John chapter 1, verse 9, it says, even when we fail or sin, God will forgive us if we confess. Now, it does take the confession. But when we acknowledge that failure, the sin, God will forgive us. And in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, it says, we know that if it's our desire to honor God, that he will even take our failures and turn them into something good. It's amazing when I look back on my life and I think about the things that I might have seen as a failure, but how God worked that to become glorious for him. How I learned something important that would help me in my walk with him, or how I was able to help someone else through difficult times and things I learned from them. Romans chapter 5 verses 3 through 5 says that suffering builds endurance, and endurance builds character, and character produces hope. You know, it's our hope in Jesus Christ and in God that we have our future, because we know that we have a secure eternity. Our reading from today is from Psalm chapter 73, verse 26. My flesh and heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. If you see yourself as a failure, as something less than adequate, erase that definition and begin to see yourself as a creation of God that is still developing, still improving, and still walking your way to eternity. Have a great day.